Good morning, everyone, and Happy New Year. It's Terry Lynch. I'm the CEO of Power Nickel, and wanted to wish everyone a very happy New Year. I think it's going to be a great year for us. And this is the first podcast of the year. I don't know if you saw that. Say that's the big lion. My son, God bless him, gave me this for a Christmas gift, and I thought, wow, that's cool. I'm going to wear that on the first podcast of the year. The Lion Zone was so amazing to us last year. I think it's going to be even better this year. And I thought out of faith and out of prosperity, I would wear this just to as a good luck charm. So thank you, Tyler, for the Christmas gift, and a little tongue in cheek about the Lion Zone and what it did for us in 24, what it's going to do for us in 2025. Today, I've got a fairly serious conversation to have with you, just to go through some things that we've learned, as a company, and the title of this podcast is a letter to our shareholders. So you'll be receiving this as part of a press release that we'll be putting out early next week, and I'm pre-recording this because I'll be traveling. But the press release is a fairly lengthy document. We encourage you to read it. We know it's a lengthy document, and it's a bit of a wordy read. It's got legalese, and it can't be done, any simpler than that. That's just the way it has to be. But it's an important document for you as a shareholder. And in this video today, what I'm going to try and do is try and clarify some things, try and make it a little simpler. And, I'm going to try and sort of answer, three key questions and go over some next steps. So the first question I'm going to answer is, what is this press release? Okay. So I'm going to go through that. And then I'm going to go through, why did the board authorize putting this press release out? And then the third thing is, what do we want you to do to basically protect yourselves based upon our educated guess as to what's happening? And in doing so, and protecting yourself and your interests, collectively, perhaps putting some serious pressure on the actors we feel are suppressing our stock. And then we'll go through some next steps and some things that will be happening. So just off the top, we had thought we would be putting out some assays this week, but there was a strike in Canada on the Postal Service, and you wouldn't think that would have impact assays. But it's not that obviously we're shipping any of our assays by post, but everyone else switched to couriers, and it became, I guess, very difficult for our assay guys to get all the couriers they need. So we've gotten partial assays in, but not full. And so our assays, which we thought we'd get out next week, I think will be out the following week. And then I think the sequence is going to be sort of pushed back a little bit. So probably the following week, we'll get assays out. We'll look to have maybe an expiration update out the week after that. And then more significant assays, or a bunch more assays, to come back in early February. We have 16 holes to come. I believe we've had some great holes. Obviously from the visuals we've seen, it looks fantastic. So, we didn't hit on 16 of 16, but none would be considered misses. So that's the good news, and we obviously had some very big hits, and we'll get that out. So that's just off the top, just to give you a little insight as to why there's been a delay in the assays. That's why. So now back to the main matter at hand, which is the news release that you will have received by the time you get this, because that's how you're going to find this video. It's linked in the news release. I hope you click on it. So what is the news release? Well, the news release is basically a advisory that we're putting out to our shareholders to suggest, based on the evidence that we've collected as a company, which we'll present as part of it to you today in the body of the release, and somewhat covered in this video. We believe that there's a preponderance of evidence that suggests there is a considerable naked short position in the company. So what does naked short mean? It means that right now we have not quite 200 million shares outstanding, but it's like 196 or 100 or so, 197 million shares outstanding. So in a naked short position, it would imply that there's maybe 250 million or 300 million or some number that we don't know. We honestly are just guessing, outstanding, that are in float. So in other words, there's 50 plus million. I don't know. There's some crazy number out there that's probably people that legitimately bought Power Nickel shareholders shares and think they own them, but they're not backed by certificates of the company, actual shareholder certificates. That's what that means. Okay. So, we felt, the board felt that based on the evidence that we collected, that we needed to give an advisory to our shareholders of some steps that we've taken as a board to try and clean up this mess, and to protect their interests as shareholders. Steps that we would recommend that they do to ensure they get the spin-out shares, which we believe could be quite valuable, for their account, and that they get what they justly paid for. So this letter to our shareholders is really just to sort of set out some of the evidence, our recommendation as a board of how of what this means, and then our suggestions as to actions that you could take as a shareholder that would preserve your interests for sure in the best possible light. So and that's the whole intent of this is that we want our job fundamentally as a management team and as a board is to protect our shareholders' best interests and to advance things in their best interests. So we're doing this in that light. So that's what this is about. It's about us as a board recognizing through certain evidence that we've collected that perhaps our market is being manipulated, and there are certain steps that we're advocating that could help clear that up. I want to be clear that we don't 100% know anything. Okay, it's not much. It's sort of like but we have collected a preponderance of evidence that suggests the only reasonable alternative is there is a massive naked short position. Now, perhaps there's some other reasonable alternative. We've tried to find it. We've asked for from the people that we believe there is the naked short position to clarify things. They have not responded. We filed a complaint with CIRO and FINRA. They did not respond to the complaint. They just said, we've received your complaint. That's it. There's no transparency in the justice system on the regulatory side of this. It's all like, hey, we got this, trust us. And the evidence continues to build, and it puts boards in a difficult position where we have to act to protect our shareholder interests. And even though we've gone through the regulatory process, we don't feel like they've responded in an appropriate way. And so we feel like we've got no choice but to take this step, which is to make the recommendations we've made in this press release, and then to obviously explain why we did that and what we want you to do next. So that's step number one, what it is. So it's basically just an advisory from the board to you, our shareholders, suggesting that you take certain actions which we feel will better protect you and your shareholder interests. Okay, straight and simple. It's very simple. So let's get to the why we made this press release. So the number one reason I guess we observed strange trading behaviors in our stock, where we're getting shares, closing at the end of the day, the CIBC KISS were 15.59 for days in a row. It gets ticked down, and spoofing and all sorts of abnormal behavior where we put out phenomenal drill results and stocks trade down 20%. Just as a reminder, when we put out the discovery hole that became Lion, which was an enormously successful hole, basically almost 8 meters of 1 ounce PGMs, the stock, we thought, okay, this thing's going to double today or whatever. It actually went down 20%. And of course, Lion went on to great things. So clearly, anybody that knew mining knew that was a great hole, and that meant, hey, this thing could be crazy hot. But yet the forces that be sold it off. I mean, it's these types of behaviors that just aren't congruent with normal rational investment thinking. This sell on news, that's just all BS that the bad guys that come up with. To the most part, that's our view. There's some news you don't sell on, you buy on with both hands, and that was one of them, and that's proven to be quite correct. But that's just the start, right? We started to collect data. We've got 3 primary sources that we've used to collect data. Share Intel, Generation IACP, and buy-ins.net. And across the board, all the data that we collected suggests that there is a massive short position in the company, documented. You'll see on the screen, we're showing you some of the Generation IACP data. I may send also some of the Share Intel data that'll go up there. And then there's a link in the report, in the news release, to the buy-ins data that has just been generated. Buy-ins.net is run by a guy named Tom Ronk, and he's a bit of a legendary figure in the short selling world. He's been collecting data, scraping data every day from FINRA, which is the national regulator in the States, every day, every single day for, 35 plus years. He's the only man alive with this data. And according to Tom, in his 35 years, we're the most shorted stock he's ever seen. I don't know, so for us as a board, we collect all this data, all this information, observe the trading things. It just looks weird. There's something strange going on. So what do we do in that case? Well, first we did the normal thing. We complained to our regulators and gave them the evidence we had. And, the regulatory systems are self-regulatory systems, both in Canada and the United States. And no doubt there's a lot of great people working for CIRO and FINRA. However, the system is, in my mind, it's just not just. It's not transparent, and justice should be transparent if it's to be fair. So we made the complaint. We obviously spent the money to put it together, and we had serious evidence. It's gotten only worse since then, and we received no reply other than we accept it, but that's it. If we find something untoward, we'll get back to you. That's just not acceptable in a situation like this. I don't know that it's ever acceptable. You should be able to see if you make a complaint, if it's being resolved, and what was the resolution. Where's the harm in that? Nonetheless, I'm not here to change CIRO or FINRA. Today, I'm here to protect my shareholders, okay? Nothing I can do about CIRO or FINRA, okay, in the short term. In the long run, we're working on some things with Save Canadian Mining, which we'll come back to in a bit. But in the short term, what we want to do is do things that can protect our shareholders. So we've seen the why is we basically have gathered a lot of evidence from various sources that suggests there's a massive naked short position in Power Nickel. Okay, so in that circumstances, what do we do? Well, first thing, we complained to regulators. That went nowhere. Second thing is we came up with this construct to think that, perhaps it would be best if we spun off our Chilean assets and our BC assets, which are, early stage, really exciting development or exploration assets, but quite different from the, very exciting development stage asset, which is NISC. So we thought from a business perspective, it makes sense to have that handled differently because there's probably different investors for each. And then we thought, there's probably a way to do this that would be constructive in this process of the catching the naked shorts. And the way to do it was to do it privately. So by doing it privately, it's not something, we've studied this at some length, and our feeling is if you did a public spinoff, that the gamers in the system, whoever has figured out how to manipulate the system, could game it again. So we decided that would not be appropriate. So, but by doing it privately, effectively, what we had our shareholders approve is that we would give out our dividend on the spin co, which is going to be, we think, very valuable to our shareholders, but only after they provided evidence through their DRS or certificates that they indeed own the stock. Okay, so that way we just reward our stockholders that physically or digitally have proof they own the stock. So in our case, where we have, I think, 196 or 197 million shares outstanding, there should be 196 or 197 million proofs that they own it, and of course they're going to get their fair share. Now, in the context where there's 250 million shares outstanding, because of this counterfeit situation. Those people that legitimately, bought the stock, think they're Power Nickel shareholders, and that could be anyone. It could be me, because my family, we've bought stock along the way here. It could be anybody who's listening to this call. We think it shows up in our account. We've got it on our brokerage record. Of course, we own the stock. Maybe so, and maybe not. So what we're suggesting is that we think that the best test of this system is to follow the instructions on the letter. There's sort of three sets of shareholders. I think I can possibly just maybe for a second review that. Better put my spectacles on since my eyes are not the best. There's registered shareholders, certificate shares, and uncertificate shares, and non-registered shareholders. Those are the four classes. You'll find yourself in one of those classes. You'll know that when you see it, and you should follow the advice given there. The main part of the advice there is that because it's private, you can't trade this stock in any event. At some point, our plan is to take the thing public, probably in Q2 or Q3, sometime soon. These are nice projects. We think they'll do well. But for now, it's not imminent from a trading perspective. So there's no need to have it to trade, because it's not possible. So we're requesting that you follow the instructions in the letter to request that your broker get you your share, your pro rata share that you're justified in getting, in your name or in the name of Endeavour Trust, who's our trustee and who we have complete confidence in to act in the appropriate way. So either directly, if you want it directly, or you can also put it in Endeavour, so that when we do go public in the future, assuming that happens, then it'll be very seamless to issue from there to you. So whichever one you find more comfortable for you. If you want it to directly get it into your hands, request it in your name. If you feel more comfortable in having it in an account, so that it makes it easier in the future to move it back into your brokerage account, by all means, do it with Endeavour. Either one is acceptable to us. What we believe happens for you is, for sure, if you request this, and we've given you a letter to send to your broker, we're suggesting you also send a copy of that letter to the CFO of the broker. The reason why we do that is when you send a copy to the CFO, it triggers certain Sarbanes-Oxley provisions for the CFO to make sure that this thing is done on the level. So it's, again, all sort of a bit legalese, and again, pain in the butt to have to go through all this stuff for you and for us. Nonetheless, it's in our perspective as a board that this is the best thing we can do to help our shareholders and help the company, that you go through this process and request this. So if you do this, then and all, let's say the 197 million shares request this, or some significant portion of that, and remember, 50% is in close hands. There's another 25% in very close hands that I'm talking to daily, that brokers that control this type of stock. So we're going to get to a lot of the stock very, very quickly, and we believe they'll follow up and ask for this. So this will do one of two things. It'll as these requests go into the brokers, I believe, will initially acknowledge and reply, okay, we're going to do that for you. At some point, if the theory is true and there is a bunch of counterfeit shares, then there's going to be more requests than there is shares to handle out. What happens then? Well, that we don't know. That's the giant unknown. So many theories on that. It's a company called Overstock. Patrick Byrne did this, not exactly like this, but he created a token that was the same concept, something that was non-fungible, like these shares are non-fungible, i.e. you can't copy them. And it did lead to a bit of a short squeeze. So could it happen here? It's possible. Again, I've always said to people, you should be investing in Power Nickel because of the underlying merits of the projects and the properties, not on the short squeeze possibilities. that's something that we're going through just to try and clean this thing up once and for all, so we just get normal stock behavior. When we put out good news, the stock goes up, and we trade in line with the success of our drill bit, which is all any mining company really should ask for, is that we just get fairly valued for the success and or failures that we have. So that's what we're trying to achieve here. So if everyone will listen to our suggestions, they will make this request following the one of the 4 ways that you own the stock, and you'll request to your broker, copy to the CFO, that this is what we want you to do, and I suggest you can do it by email first, but you got to get a response from these guys. If you don't get a response from these guys, and you've talked to them on the phone, and you sent them an email and you get no response, then you need to send a registered letter, okay? Because then it's like undeniable proof that you've made a choice as a shareholder. You've given instructions. It's been delivered to them. If they don't follow it, it's on them, okay? So you're building this stress case for them because they have to act, okay? So, and look, there's many great brokers out there that are doing the right thing, and I'm not trying to malign the industry or any particular broker. I'm just saying, we've got to be, look after our shareholders based upon the evidence that we see. This is what we got. This is our suggestions as to way to best ensure our shareholders get the shares that they deserve in the spin out, okay? And by taking care of this, they will, basically ensure that they'll get their share of the spin out, and potentially it could cause other actions. If there is counterfeit shares out there, and a lot of them, then I suspect that would force the brokers into covering the stock. But honestly, I don't know. We'll see. This is a test. But what it will do for sure is, I know that if we do this, this will be the best way that you protect and make sure you get this valuable spin-out shares. And that's our number one objective, is to make sure you do that. Okay. So follow the instructions in the letter based upon what shareholder class you are, and do that. We will be trying to be helpful as a company. We've hired Aura Capital to help us to deal, with the shareholders, just because we're super skinny from an admin perspective. So it made sense that we hired a third party to help us deal with this. So it's possible you'll either receive a call or possibly be talking to Aura if you try to reach out to us to get education as to, a little bit more color on the thing. So if I don't reach out to you directly, which is unlikely, just given my travel and work schedule, and or Duncan, probably Aura Capital will be the group that talks to you and walks you through the process and the best way to sort of protect yourself. So that's that's what's going to happen. And one of the other reasons why we're doing this is we wanted to show the industry, that this has happened to us. It's undoubtedly happened to them. And we, of course, many of you know that I was co-founder of Save Canadian Mining, and we've done a lot of work advocating against naked shorts. It's interesting. Just in the last week, Ciro has put out a new bulletin that has some potential promise to it. To be honest with you, I've actually reached out to Ciro, and it looks promising. And I've specifically asked them. They're basically talking about going to an enforcement of a T+1 settlement. So in other words, when you buy a share or sell a share, you have 1 day to settle that transaction, i.e., 1 day to pay for the share, 1 day to deliver the share. But quite often in Canada, we've allowed that to go on for days and days, where people don't, and weeks, and sometimes months, where people don't deliver the shares, and somehow, they get away with it. We don't understand how that happens, but it has happened. It does happen. Our view on Safe Canadian Mining was that they're using a thing called a short market exempt clause to manufacture paper to allow them to respond to any sort of bids and sell into the bid without stock to deliver. And they don't market as a short sale. because they're short market exempt. They've got this right, that ordinary shareholders don't have, that you and I don't have, because of their entry into trading agreements with respect to computerized trading. So big guys have this right to certain exemptions, short market exempt, that ordinary citizens don't have. I mean, it's preposterous. Nonetheless, it exists. We've complained about it at Save Canadian Mining. We think potentially this Ciro response could be dealing with that. I've actually written a letter on Friday to Ciro from my position at Save Canadian Mining to ask them specifically to clarify that, if in fact they are addressing this short market exempt. If people now, if they hit a bid, a short market exempt bid, they have to deliver in one day. That will transform the market. That'll be unbelievable. And so I said we will get out strongly and endorse that if that's the case. I don't know. This language is very fuzzy, and these guys have driven loopholes. The short actors who are super smart, super well capitalized, they have figured out all the ways to beat the system. And if there's a loophole in this system, they will beat it. They have unlimited cash and unlimited access to super smart people. So if there's a weasel clause in there, they'll find it. So we need to make sure that if there's new legislation coming down to design to hit this, that they in fact hit it. So anyway, we're going to advise on that. We're hopeful. I don't know. We'll see what Ciro has to say on that. Let's hope that they've done the right thing and they've closed that loophole. If they have, then this will be a very good year for Canadian mining and for Canadian small cap equities across the board. In that respect, the reason why this action was taken by Ciro is got directly, I believe, respect to the public pressure that Save Canadian Mining has put on the regulators, has put on the politicians. And I give, in this case, full credit to the Ford government. I believe that they have put the pressure on the OSC to pressure Ciro to make these moves. We've had several very positive, frank conversations with the Ford cabinet and the ministers in charge, and they said they would do something. And I believe this is part of that response. So kudos on them. I hope that we made it very clear that the devil was in the details. It's always in the details with these things, that they must close that loophole, the short market exempt. We'll see. If they have, then we're going to be in good shape. Unfortunately, one of the things that's so irritating, our commodities market is actually reasonably healthy, probably at, I would say, a 75 percentile commodity market, and I think it's trending up, which is great. But if you look at the TSXV, it's trading at or near all-time lows, which is pure evidence of something being unhealthy in the market. And it's just insane to me that that this process, if they do make a change, they're saying we want comments back by the end of March or something, and then nothing will change for 6 months. So literally, it's like Los Angeles. The fires are burning. We're going to get the firefighters out there in 6 months. It's crazy. Listen, if there's a problem, and there is a bloody problem, fix it now. Stop it tomorrow. I mean, South Korea shut this thing down in 1 week. Why can't Canada? So that's just crazy. So in order to do that, one of the things I would like you to do as shareholders of Power Nickel is there's a link below, the Save Canadian Mining link. Please click on that. If you're not a registered Save Canadian Mining supporter, please do so. I've obviously been wearing 2 hats with Power Nickel and Save Canadian Mining. I'm about to remove my hat at Save Canadian Mining. We've recruited a phenomenal individual, which we'll explain shortly. We're going to, do some serious, advancing of the cause at Save Canadian Mining with somebody that's beyond repute. Not that I'm irreputable, but obviously when I talk Save Canadian Mining, they think, well, Terry's talking his book. He's in Power Nickel, and he's talking for Power Nickel, and that's somewhat true. But it's also true that I'm talking about the truth of the junior mining. But nonetheless, that message is going to be better heard from somebody who's above the fray. And that's what we've recruited. And so we'll be transitioning, to that. I'll be supporting them, of course, and helping them to fundraise to make sure this happens. I'm running for PDAC board to, again, just purely support Save Canadian Mining initiatives to make sure that we fix our capital markets, because obviously one of the beneficiaries is going to be Power Nickel and our shareholders. That I'm ultimately doing it for sure for them, but also I'm an investor across the board in mining. I think it's a hell of a time to be investing in mining. I know it's scary out there because of the markets and stuff like that, but there's so many tremendous deals in Canadian mining that I've always advocated that. I advocated last January at VRIC. I said push half your pile in, and at PDAC I said push the entire pile in, and I did. It's been a great bet for us and the family. I think it's really a phenomenal time to invest in the sector. I think it's a phenomenal time to invest in Power Nickel. Obviously, people say, hey, did I miss it? You went from 20 cents to $1, and yeah, unfortunately missed that run. But I would say we're asymmetrically from a risk perspective, maybe even a better deal now than we were then. We've actually made some amazing progress. That's going to start to come out. It's coming out now. And I suspect 2025 will be better than 2024. So you haven't missed it. You missed the first run, but there's lots more of this run left. This is, I think, is going to become a world-class project, and these things can be start to finish 50, 100 baggers, and we're maybe 10% of the way there. So we got a long ways to go, and we hope to have you with us. I think we're getting close to the hour. I want to wrap it up. So just to reiterate, what we've covered. Number one, we're doing this because we think there's a significant potential that there is a naked short in Power Nickel stock, and that will mean that you won't get your fair share of this spin out. In order to make sure you get the fair share of your spin out shares, which we are very positive on its potential, we're asking you to request from your broker that you get the shares either put in your name or in the name of Endeavour Trust. If you do those things, this will collectively, if we act together, and we all should, this will put a lot of, if there is a problem, if there is more shares out than they're actually outstanding, if there is counterfeit shares, as the preponderance of evidence suggests, then that'll put enormous pressure on those people, because at some point they're going to run out of shares to give you. And then what do? That part we don't know, okay? But we do know that will put them in a super uncomfortable position, and that's what we should do, okay? And then the other thing we're asking, support Save Canadian Mining. We're going to make some, we're with Cyril's come out with some suggestions this week. We're chasing it down to see if they're good suggestions, if they actually are addressing the key problem, the short market exempt problem, the problem that allows the manufacturer of the paper, of the counterfeit paper. If they do that, then that'll be fantastic. But you got to keep the pressure on these guys. They didn't do this willfully, folks. They did it because we were giving them pressure. Okay, we need to keep massively increasing the pressure. Save Canadian Mining is going to do that in the coming year. We've got some new people coming in that'll drive the boat, because I'm going to be so busy focused on 100% of my efforts on Power Nickel. I'll do what I can for Save Canadian Mining to help it along the way to get it going, support the new leadership group there. But they'll do an amazing job of pressing the case if we support them. And I'm asking you to support them, by joining the link below. I'm also going to be sending this to my peers that are currently in Save Canadian Mining, and many junior mining executives that have reached out over the years and saying, how can I help? How can I support? Now's the time to support, guys. And we'll be giving, Power Nickel is going to be giving $25,000 to Save Canadian Mining. I'm asking junior mining companies to give between $5,000 to $25,000 to Save Canadian Mining, so we can make this case, make the press. Because if we can turn these rules around, if we can stop the naked short selling, we'll have the biggest boom in mining history, and fortunes will be made. Our shareholders will make a ton of investment profits. Our communities will get jobs, high-paying jobs in the rural areas of our country that could desperately need it, a boost. Canada needs a boost. Canada needs to have mining become what it always has been, such a great, prolific generator of jobs, high-paying jobs and taxes, for our society. So, but we need help, and Help is on the way. We've got the right strategies, in safety in mind to come forward with this, but we'll need your help. We'll need help from all the junior mining companies, all the junior capital companies in Canada, not just mining, to make the change. We're talking about safety in mining, really is about safety equities, and we're really sort of focused on that. So please help us there, and please follow our instructions. Request your broker to put this spin-out share either in your name or in the name of Endeavour Trust. That'll go a long ways to putting the pressure on these guys. So anyway, that's it for now. I wish you all the very best in the new year. We're going to be working hard. Going to have lots of interesting podcasts. This will be really the last time I talk about the short selling program. We want to focus on the geology and the advancement of this great development project, and focus all of our energies on that. But we felt it was honor bound on us to get this evidence out there, to make some suggestions that we think can be positive for our shareholders and to protect them first and foremost. But going forward, we'll be focusing on the business at hand, which is dealing with this great project we call NISC and the amazing polymetallic discovery that it is. So with that, I bid you a very good day, and hope you have a wonderful start to the new year, and we look forward to talking to you again soon. Cheers for now. Adios.